Justin Myrick, discussing topics from education to finance. All the advice you'll need on life right here, you'll find it. With kings who weathered every climate and come out shining, so come and get inspired. My uncles and me, it takes my uncles and me. It takes my uncles and me. It takes my uncles and me. It takes my uncles and me.
Welcome to the My Uncles and Me podcast, a podcast with a purpose, where we have accomplished older men give advice to a younger man on how they got to be where they are in life, what they would do when they were his age, about their insight, their knowledge, their wisdom, pretty much everything that you would want to talk about when talking to an uncle. So, if that's what you want to hear, then stay tuned. What is up, guys? We are back with another episode of the My Uncles and Me podcast. Yes, and today we have an extremely special guest. I'm like super excited about this. I would like to introduce to you Mr. Mikey D.
Thank you. Great to be here, man.
I'm glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. So let me read his bio just so you can know who you got in front of you. I know, but I want you to know, okay? So, with an illustrious career spanning over 3 decades, Michael Christopher Dinko, affectionately known as Mikey D, is a consummate executive producer and creator whose name is synonymous with excellence in the world of entertainment. His expertise lies in project development and leadership, spanning the creative and technical domains of film, television, writing scripts, and music production. Michael Dinko stands as a passionate and collaborative professional, renowned for his impeccable management of numerous music, TV, and film projects. His crowning achievement is the creation and producer of Animal Planet's critically acclaimed sensation, Pit Bulls and Parolees. This award-winning show has not only surpassed the 100-episode milestone, but continues to captivate audiences worldwide, airing on Sunday nights. For those of you who don't know, it's been on for like 18 seasons. That's crazy. That's like unheard of. Okay, so in the realm of music, Mikey D has left an indelible mark, having graced the stage and studio alongside music legends like Ricky Martin, Shakira, Dokken, Bang Tango, and Ringo Starr. His remarkable journey of over 3 decades has been punctuated by extensive touring, recording venues, and influential roles and promotions at A&R at recording companies. His specialty lies in nurturing and producing emerging artists and crafting unforgettable soundtrack themes. Michael Dinko's prowess extends beyond a singular domain, collaborating seamlessly with creative directors and producers to meticulously plan, coordinate, and execute productions. His well-honed skills include expertly managing filming schedules, orchestrating pre-production meetings, overseeing final edits, and demonstrating an unwavering commitment to perfection in every facet of the creative process. Whew.
Oh, you wore me out.
Well, I mean, there's more on here, and I really do think that.
Well, you did a really good job.
Thank you. And
I really impressed me.
I know, right?
I forget about this.
That's how you know you've done it. Like when you think, oh, I did that?
Right, I'm like, you know what? That's a cool guy.
It is. And then you're like,
been doing it.
That's you.
That's me.
How does it feel?
You just wore me out because you took me to the last 20 years. But it feels great, you know, and I've never been so inspired in life, you know, because again, climbing to that mountain is one thing, but to be able to get on top and go, now what can I do?
I know.
Is where I'm at right now. And, you know, again, I feel like it's just beginning, you know, and, you know, you take one success and you go, now what can I do? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I know what not to do because I've done it wrong or I've learned from mistakes.
Right.
And I think, you know, there are no rules to get there. Sure, there's some roads to get there, but there's really no rules to get there. So everybody's got to find their own niche. And a lot of times, you know, through the big machine of Hollywood and LA and all the big companies, you got to go through all the motions and stuff like that. But it's a different world right now.
Right, and I feel like the industry is changing. Because before it really felt like you were going through a huge machine, you know. And now I definitely feel like things can happen a little bit more organically. Especially, I think the timeline that kind of speaks to, I guess, like it's It's like what you were saying earlier, like there's no set roadmap. Because I know a lot of people where they think, oh, it has to happen by this age, or if I'm not, this by this age, and it's like, and I'm seeing, okay, maybe you don't need to be some big global superstar by the age of like 16 or 17, And
well, nowadays there's a lot of pressure for that because
yes,
the new generation, I have to say, I have a 17-year-old that they want things on demand. They want to push a button and say, I want to be this, I want to be that, and if they have to work a little hard, they get disinterested in it. Like, oh, that's kind of hard.
Right. And
I don't want to do that.
Exactly.
So they don't know how to work for it, but, having that just determination and getting them miles in is what makes the journey fun, because once you do get there, you want to appreciate it. So if you get it too quick, too fast, you don't really appreciate it.
That's what they say, those two, right there.
There
That's
you
what
go.
they say all the time. And I'm pretty sure they've told, the other members of our studio audience this as well. It's sort of like something worth having, it won't come quickly, and just to have a little bit more patience. Because we've seen extremely talented people, but they it's like, oh, I'm just going to give up. And it's like, no, like just wait, another week, and...
Yeah, I feel like there are a lot of people that do get there, maybe prematurely, but somehow they're going to have to go through it. And, I always said, I'd rather fail outside of the limelight. Let me get my bruises and my bumps and my boo-boos and learn from it so I could actually be a role model or be somebody that somebody could say, hey, you know what? He worked for it, but guess what? I'm going to do that.
Write that down. I like that. And I think that's something a lot more people, that's a mentality a lot more people need to have is,
Absolutely.
Let me get all this growth and, all of the I guess the ugly moments out the way. That way when it does come, I'll be as polished as can be.
I try talking people out of it. Why do you want to do it? Well, it's cool. Okay, what else you got? Because it's going to take a lot more than that, because it might not always be cool. And when it's not cool, are you cool? And that's the thing, you got to love it. If you love something so bad, you could take bullets and it don't matter, because you have that love in it. The old saying, which I'm sure you hear all the time, is once you find something you love, it's not work anymore. So I had music coming through. That kept me out of gangs. That kept me off of drugs. That kept me with something to shoot for when I was very, very young.
Right.
And, I have to thank that journey and the bruisings and the black eyes and the freaking neck breakings that I had to get going through it. And, coming back to the entertainment thing, it was the music business that gave me that courage to go outside the box, because music is one of the few industries where we had to find a way to work outside the machine. Rap music proved it.
True.
We sold it right out of the trunk. We didn't wait for that big machine to say, okay, you're great. Now we'll get behind you.
You had to acknowledge your own.
They went right to the listeners or the viewers or the music appreciators. So I think the industry is taking more of a tone, as to kind of add to what you were saying, because there are outlets now. The technology is there now. There are great writers and great producers and great movie makers that are doing things with their phones that blow me away.
Right.
It's there's no limits to it. You are your limit. So if you could see it and you believe it, it shall be. And once you conform to that, everybody else conforms around you. You don't have to talk nobody into nothing if you believe it, because they're going to want to get on that train and be on that journey with you. So, and again, sometimes it happens quicker, sometimes it takes a little bit of a run. But either way, if you love it, it's okay.
Right. And so earlier you were talking about the music industry. So how did you get into that, and sort of, I guess give us a little bit more of your background, where you're from and sort of how you ended up working with Shakira and Ringo Starr, because that's huge.
Yeah, I had no parents that were musically inclined or nothing like that. My mom had a great record collection, and that was her joy in life. She used to put on the old Motown records and Elvis.
Like Jackson 5.
That was her joy. We didn't have money growing up. We were poor. In fact, we were so poor that we used to gather around the stove in the morning to get warm. And as kids, we were just little kids, we thought it was fun. We didn't know that we didn't have any electricity.
Right.
But we had that love. So we kind of got brought up in that sense of mind of once you have that love, you keep that together and everything around you is not a problem. So we had the love of music. Now, we also didn't have the means to go out and buy guitars and stuff like that, but we had like neighbors, you know, spoiled kids that were like, they got drum sets and they got guitars and they were gonna start a band. And my brother, who was my older brother, said, hey, let's get a guitar and you're gonna play bass. And I'm like, what's bass? He's like, don't worry about it. just do this. So really, he put a bass in my hand and he showed me just enough things to where he could practice his leads. Mm-hmm. So I literally was just like his rhythm section.
Right.
So then we joined our first local band, and we kind of grew out of it because we had an inspiration to write our own songs. And a lot of the kids in the bands around were just playing cover tunes and playing, you know, different things like that. And I was like, let's write our own songs.
Right.
And they're like, you can't write songs. I'm like, I don't know, maybe we could. And we did, and that's where we stood out. So we took that journey to Los Angeles because I was born in the Bay Area, and found out right away that everybody that is good comes to Los Angeles. So we were like these little peas in this giant bowl of people that had even more talent than us. And it really was a wake-up call. I was like, look, I'm either going to get out of the game or I'm going to go harder.
Right.
And that's what I did. So I worked hard. We worked hard, wrote our own things. I had a record deal when I was 21, which fell apart for numerous reasons.
Right. Who were you signed with?
A&M. It was with A&M, and it was a big deal. And, you know, making is just the first step. A lot of people think once they make it, oh, it's all good.
Yes.
But guess what? Success also brings different elements of that could completely destroy it.
Can you maintain it?
Like money, like jealousy, like girlfriends that are crazy, that get jealous. So, but we weren't ready for none of that.
Right.
We just thought, wow, we got a record deal. So it was never.
And like no one prepares you for it. No one says, hey, okay,
We
this is what
worked
happens
on
when
our
you...
music so hard that I forgot about the elements in life that could destroy it. Mm-hmm. And that's what it did. So I've been through a lot of projects that had what it took, but emotionally to keep it together is the trick. So, you know, to kind of try to get 5 guys on the same page or 4 or 5 guys on the same page, it's tricky. So I found it was a hit and miss with that. And I eventually started like kind of like branching myself out to other projects. Mm-hmm. I had a really good manager that said, Mikey, you should go, I know this band. And I'd be like, nope, we're a band and blah, 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 I'm going to make it. And then I opened myself up to like, you know what, let me climb on somebody else's train for a second.
Right.
So I just happened to, like I said, had some great referrals and stuff. And, you know, I met people like Ricky Martin, who was first coming to America to break out this new album. And I'd heard of him from the band Menudo, believe it or not. He was a big star since he was a little kid. And my manager was like, man, you would be perfect for it. You got to go meet Ricky. I'm like, Ricky, the Menudo guy? Yikes. You know, I mean, I don't know. He's like, just go and see what happens. And I met him, I heard the record, and I was blown away.
What was he like when you met him?
He was super respectful. He wasn't at all like I thought. And he's actually a musician as well. So I respected him off the top right away. Mm-hmm. And he was just so gracious, like, do you think people will love me in America? How do you think people will like the album? And
really?
I was surprised that he didn't know how cool he was, which was awesome. It's such an awesome trait. And I said, yeah, I think this is going to do really good. So anyway, we got along. And again, his success propelled so hard when that album came out. And the Vida Loca video, the first one that came out, was directed by Wayne Isner, who is like the mega guy that does everybody's mega video. So I'm the good-looking shadow to the right playing bass in Vida Loca. But yeah, you know, so it kind of spawned off from that. And then I met Shakira's people.
Oh, now what was Shakira like? Was she doing the whole hit thing?
Double amazing. Again, these are like new artists that I've never heard of. In America, never really heard of them. Mm-hmm. But obviously they had the record company support and they were putting together, you know, the right bands for this. So I was just like all ears at that point. Like I stopped listening to like what I wanted to do and said, look, let me just work with people who have that same ambition. And she certainly had it. And she was such a talent. She was so amazing and pure. Like, I don't even know how to say it. But she lived her music. Mm-hmm. So I respected that right off the bat. And of course, as we know, how, you know, the success she went on to be.
Right.
So I knew I was on to something, and I knew I just needed to stay open-minded.
So you were like on the ground floor of these. That is crazy.
Yeah, it
That
was
is
really
crazy.
cool. And they really kept their heads about him. And like I was saying before, success, that's a mode too. Because, you know, once you're in demand, you don't have a life. Ricky Martin was literally, after every gig, being helicoptered to another country to do a concert. And then being brought back here to do it. So the bigger you are, the more you need to give.
Right.
So you don't have a personal life, and you know you really have to know how to handle. You have to be nice to everybody, all day long.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yes, it is.
So
I know.
you really got to love what you do, and he did, and that's why he's the great artist he is.
Awesome. So I guess, and as someone who like is into music, I kind of want you to listen to a couple of my tracks, but we gonna do that later.
Okay.
Because I do have a question about, I guess, just how you went from, I guess, music into film and sort of how Pit Bulls and Parolees got started.
Yeah, you know, I've always had a love for dogs. It was dogs and music that saved my life. Like I said, going through, I had these things that were my safe spot. Always had dogs, always loved dogs. And it was actually, I think I was on tour or doing stuff with Ricky Martin, and one of the dancers had brought this little pit bull, I think it was to rehearsal or something, and it was like 3 to 4 weeks old. And this is like 13, 14 years ago. And she was crying, we can't keep it because it's a pit bull. And I'm like, it's just a puppy. Anyway, I said, I'll take the dog. And I bottle fed this little pit bull girl, loved it, and it just turned into my sweetheart. And I wanted to get the dog trained. It was a sweet dog, but I already looked like that guy. So I didn't want to be that guy with this crazy pit bull. So I was looking for somebody to help me train the dog. And that's where I found Tia Torres while she was sponsoring a class called Free Pit Bull Training in Los Angeles. Like, it was like almost like a fake ad. I was like, wait.
Well, like, it's too good to be true,
and it was
right?
like pit bulls only. It had like a poodle with a no smoking sign, but it was like hilarious. And I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. So I showed up in her class, and again, she was just offering like basic training for anybody that had a pit bull, because she wanted to try to help owners. And I was just one out of 10 guys with my dog, going through the motions. And I would see, the way she interacted with the animals and the way she helped me, some of the tips she gave me. I remember the first day, she's kind of going around to everybody going, what's your problem? Why are you here? And like, she's a tough lady. If you see her on TV, that's her. There ain't no candy coating Tia. She's the real deal. And she finally got around to me. She goes, what's your problem? Why are you here? And I'm like, my dog's great. She just kind of jumps on people. When she comes in, she's excited.
Right.
And she's like, well, what have you done? And try to help it. And I said, people have told me stuff. She's like what? And I'm like, well, like, pinched her paws or knee them off. And she's like, did it work? I'm like, would I be here? She's like, okay, I like you. Because she's bullying me, But she took my dog in 1 second, and I don't know if I'm going to get out of camera here. So she took my dog, and my dog went to jump on her, and she turned around and said, no. And she put her little hip out and just stopped. And my dog literally looked at her and just sat down. It was incredible.
Really?
And she held it for a couple seconds, and I'm just like, whoa. And she turns around, she gives me the leash. She goes, okay, just do that. And I'm like, whoa.
Like it's just some quick, simple fix.
Right, because a lot of the guys came with the spike collars and stuff. And she didn't like that. She's like, you can't bully these dogs. They're so tough. She goes, I train tigers, lions, and bears. And do you think I do that with force? You have to do it with respect. And just that communication, that bond. So that's what she has with the pit bulls. And it worked. And I tried it, and I would go through her 8-week course. And every time after the class, I would stay and talk to her. She didn't know who I was. She knew my dog's name, not me.
She knew the dog's name.
And I'm thinking in my head, how can I help this lady, right? And I think it was towards the end of the class, I went up to her and I said, so Tia, are you do you have a grant? Like, who's funding this?
Like, is there...
She goes, nope, nobody wants to help pit bulls. And I'm like, oh, wow, so why are you doing this? She's like, so people like you don't blow it for people like me that love these dogs. And I'm like, I love you even more. I'm a rock star, and I'm going to help you out. I'm going to write you a song and make you $1 million. And she goes, that's cute, Mikey. Just take care of your dog. And walks away. And I'm like, like I wanted to help her even more.
Right.
She didn't even want it. She was so doing it for the purity of the love of her mission. Mm-hmm. So I stayed in touch with her, and I knew some people that did TV, and I was kind of trying to pitch it around town. Like, I know this perfect second chance show, and they're like, "No, nobody cares about pit bulls, Mikey." I'm like, "Oh,
Maybe now."
But no, Mikey, you just go do your music. You know nothing about TV. Shut up." And I'm like, really, like, it broke my heart.
Right.
So I was like, "So you're saying I got nothing to lose?" I literally put my music on hold. I bought a camera, and I went and followed her for a week. My dime. "Tia, I'm going to be a fly on the wall." "Nah, Mikey, nobody wants to see me on TV. I'm all old and ugly." I'm like, "Oh my God, you don't even understand. You're so powerful." So it wasn't
like you were trying to like bring it out.
Yeah,
you
I'm
know?
like, you don't even understand. The work you're doing is so powerful and beautiful. Don't worry about it. And I get it, you know, because Hollywood had made it like you have to be this great looking person, and that was the way with music too, as well.
Right.
So I said, let me just get some footage and let's see what we got. And if you don't like it, you don't want to show it, we won't show it. So I was a fly on the wall. I followed her around for like a week, and I just seen the most remarkable things happen. I seen the Parolees coming in the morning, guys that would kick my butt normally on the street, but seeing the dogs, they were like laughing, and then when the dog got a home adopted, they would cry. Like the emotions that normally they wouldn't have, these dogs were bringing it out of them.
And it showed like that human.
It was
connection,
so amazing,
just, like,
so amazing.
No one would
these
really
guys
understand.
were like, some of these guys were like in jail for so long. They never thought they would have a life. Some pretty big crimes, you know, from attempted murder to super burglary type of stuff. Like they never thought their life could ever be any different. But this program helped them. It gave them a place to go. They don't want to look behind their back. They don't want to be dirty.
Right.
And so I put together this reel, and remember, I already was kind of trying to get people to help me.
Right.
And they all told me, don't waste your time. So when I put this reel together, all of a sudden everybody woke up, and not my friends, they're not my friends no more. I'm a freight train, so get on, or I'm going to run you over, and that's what I did. So I went right to it, and everybody loved it. Said, "Oh my God, this is great." So they had to see it to believe it. Back to see it, believe it, and it shall be. So I took the time to at least try to capture something that maybe people could relate to. Because obviously just saying pit bulls and parolees wasn't doing it.
Right.
They're like, "Bro, are you kidding?"
You had to like show them, and I've found that sometimes it's like that, where you know you
Yeah.
say it and people are like, "Oh, that's not going to happen," or "Oh, whatever." But you know, but then it's like, okay, I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, that's what you know." It's always the
Yeah.
things that it's like very slept on, something that
Yeah.
everyone underestimates, and
And it was a shame because, you know, there were two elements in society that were thrown away. Literally, you know, the stereotypes from everything.
Right.
So basically what I did is I tried to share the good stories. Because for every bad story the news puts out, the pit bull eats a nun, or like they just dramatize all this stuff. But I was seeing 1,000 great stories.
and
So
they
I
would
said,
normally they would never get the light of
Never,
day.
because the news doesn't lean on that. So I said, for every bad story, there's a million good ones, and I'm going after the good ones. So we found a partner with Animal Planet. They totally got what we were doing, and that's kind of how it started. I wasn't trying to be a TV producer. I was actually trying to get Tia okay and then go back on tour. But I stayed with the show as a ground producer. I wrote the music for the theme. That theme you hear every time, that's Mikey D. So I contributed in every way I could. And mostly I was there as a supporter of the breed, an advocate of the breed. And, you know, I have to say for every great story though, I've seen the most horrible stuff, the most horrible abuse that humans could do to dogs that infuriated me. It fired me up so bad it made me work harder.
Right.
Because I want them. I'm going to go after them. I'm going to get in their face. I'm going to get the world to get in their face. And guess what? We're going to eliminate this because pit bulls are just the circumstances of the humans.
Right.
Holding
I've seen
the
that
leash.
with a lot of dogs, where you know someone's got this really big dog, and you know it's like it's all crazy off the leashes. But then another person will have the exact same dog breed, and it's just like perfectly fine, paws crossed, you know, little tongue out, licking the nose, whatever. And it really goes to show you that some people, because I've seen certain instances where I'm like, oh, this person should not have that dog, or you can tell the dog's not properly trained.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You know, and pit bulls are so loyal. That's why they could also be taken advantage of. because they'll do what you want, and a lot of bad people teach them to do bad things. So I always say you could tell a lot about the dog by the guy holding the leash. Remember that, TV Land.
Write that one down too.
You know what I'm saying out there. But it's true, you know. And it really started with I wanted to be that guy that had control of my dog.
And they're strong, like physically.
Absolutely.
You can tell they're physically strong.
But you could hurt their
dogs.
feelings. They're so emotionally attached to the owner that you could literally. I've seen pit bulls cry.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I did not know they could cry. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't know dogs could cry in general, but you know.
Yeah, I've seen dogs die of broken hearts.
Oh.
Yep.
That's the unexpected.
You know,
sadness
dogs
of
are the
day.
only creatures, now that we're on that subject,
Oh,
that love
that's-
you more than themselves.
Oh, and then you had to say that.
Yeah.
You just had to say that one, Uncle Mikey. Just take me out. Mikey.
Yeah. We ain't nothing. They're beautiful creatures, and I was just glad to be a part of that. And now the show, obviously, you know, you said it did 18 seasons, and it is syndicated worldwide. Thank you very much.
Ooh. Somebody clap for that.
Yeah. So thank you, Discovery Animal Planet, for believing in this little kid. And we're, I think, in like 20 to 40 different countries.
So how does that feel to like know that this thing you started has really like gone on and taken on a life of its own? Like, what is that like?
Dude, it didn't surprise me. Because that's how it hit me. I'm just a viewer at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was telling the networks. I'm like, you know, when they were saying, well, maybe it's a documentary, maybe, but it's certainly not a series. And I'm like, you're wrong. And I'm your boss. And they're like, you can't say that. You'll never work in this business again. I'm like, I never wanted to. And I said, I'm your boss because I'm the viewer. Mm-hmm. I'm the guy that'll change the channel or stay on your channel. And they're like, oh, that's a pretty good point.
Yeah.
So really, I'm just a viewer. It doesn't surprise me because I've seen this before it happened. I knew the stories I was seeing. I knew the experiences that I was emotionally getting moved by. Mm-hmm. And I said, if I could just get people's eyes on this, I know they're going to see it. And it happened.
So what would you say to young filmmakers who want to, you know, they have like this passion, this love for it. So what would you give them, you know, I guess, for anyone who wants to get started really in filmmaking or TV production? What is your advice?
You know what I would say is try to paint the picture as much as you can before you ask for help. Because again, just like a painting, a beautiful painting, if you come to a gallery or a show with your painting halfway painted, mm-hmm. people are going to come fill in the holes, and you might not like the way they paint it. Okay? So remember that. And it applies to life, too. So my approach is I will do everything I can to try to paint the picture as complete as I can. Because when you go to a gallery, people don't come up with a paintbrush and go, oh, that's cute, but you should have a sun right here, or the waterfall. Right. You don't mess with that because they're complete paintings. Mm-hmm. But when you bring something halfway, people are going to have something to say about it, and you might not like it. Sometimes it's great, the collaboration, but I think you owe it to the project or to the network or the studio that you're bringing it to have your picture at least as complete as possible, but at the same time also be open-minded. Right. I was a hard-headed guy when I was coming up, and I learned to be like, okay, I don't know it all. What do you got? And even if you don't like what they say, be gracious. Mm-hmm. You know, they're just trying to help in their way. Right. And if you're not on the same vibration, that's okay too.
And there could be some element of truth to what they say.
Absolutely.
Because some people, I've learned, some people just straight up don't know how to give constructive criticism, but they might be onto something. It's just they phrased it horribly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And some people might have a different vision, and that's the beauty about it. You know, it does take a collaboration, but I think we owe it as creators and artists to try to complete our picture as much, to tell that story to somebody so they get it. Because, you know, again, I've tried the half painting mode and tried to get somebody to get me over the finish line, and it ended up getting ruined.
Right, and it just wasn't what you originally had envisioned.
I didn't even like it anymore. But sometimes you have to kind of, you know, be open-minded to suggestions, which is great. But again, you should know in your heart what's right. And you shouldn't just do it because you got a deal or somebody gives you money. Make sure it's right, because it ain't going to last long if it's not right anyway.
That is true, because you're gonna get burnt out, and you aren't gonna want to stick
Or
with
if
it.
it's not a good product, nobody's going to watch it or listen to it.
That part too.
So be real at first and make sure it's your vision. And if you got such a true vision like I was lucky to have, then paint it. Prove it. Step up. You know, I always say, and Randy will say this, I say, I'll take all the blame or all the fame, but I'll also do all the work, you know, to make sure that I give it everything I got for it to succeed.
I like that. Now, earlier you were talking about second chances. You know, and I know this was before the camera, so I would just like you, I guess, to just elaborate a little bit more on second chances and how that that ties into pit bulls and parolees.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think a lot of people, you know, for a long time get caught up in this mindset of, oh, I'll never be able to break out of this. It's just nobody cares, stereotype, this and that. But really, that's kind of an excuse because, especially with the show, which is one example where it's a complete, and you're seeing it, believing it, and you see it on TV, so there's no more excuses. So it almost makes people that are not ready to change their lives don't want to watch that show because they're like, man,
it scares them, and it's like
Yeah.
it confronts them, and it's like I can't control it, you know.
Right. You know, so I think the ones that are ready are ready. Some people just don't want to change, and that's fine. They got to go through their things to find, you know, whatever you got to do. I'm not the arbitrator of that. That's you. If you're ready to change your life, there are programs, and there are, you know, opportunities. And I think that a lot of people, not only through this show, but a lot of different shows, are now making it available. I love second chance people because the ones that really want to change will never blow it again because they know where they're at. But the ones that are using that as a perpetual excuse, I don't know how to help them. They got to get it right in their mind.
Right. And I think for a lot of people, changing is hard. It's hard to break out, and and oftentimes it's just straight up uncomfortable. You know, it's like, oh, I'm going against what I've always done, and like mentally you get comfortable in that routine.
Sure.
But it's like and I've seen where some people are in a routine and it's not working for them, but they're like, oh, it's just all I know, and it's like, no, you can do better. Like you can. There's this thing over here, like just literally do this, and you know, and they just, I don't know. It's hard to change, but it is worthwhile in the end.
Yeah, no, there's definitely effort involved, and you know, I like to say it's almost easier to be bad than good because you can get away with stuff. But you will find that brick wall eventually. So you can keep rolling as long as you want, but you're gonna have to confront it sometime. So the ones that do know there's gonna be some effort in it, and it's gonna be a little hard. You cool? Nothing is worse than having to look over your back or to be dirty and to live like that. I personally can't do that, but I know a lot of people that do, and it's a shame. But I think what they're doing is they're scared of change, like you're saying. It's a scary thing because you're afraid to fail.
Oh.
And it's a tough thing to pick yourself up. Like if you really go for something and you love it and then you get smacked down,
That's hard.
that's a tough pickup.
That hits right here. Right,
Yeah.
Right here. Right
Yeah.
in the heart area.
Yeah.
The feelings, the emotions of
Yeah.
it all. You know?
So it's the ones that could take that burn or that hurt and grow from it.
I like that. But it's true, though. It's true. And I think that's why you see certain people where they take risks and other people who play it safe. And you can definitely tell some people like, oh, I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to do this thing. But then you've got everyone else like, oh, you sure that's going to work? You sure? And then when it does, it's like, okay, how does that person feel knowing they took the risk? They did what was hard. They stood out there on their own. You know, they were different. Because me and my parents were talking about this earlier in the week, and they were like, oh, well, you know, you're different. And I was like, it's not easy. You know, I was like, it's not easy just being out here by myself. But, you know, it would be a boring world, you know, if there weren't people who weren't afraid of change, you know, going after and having a vision. Like, oh, this is what I want it so much. I don't care. That's what I want, you know.
Yeah, and you know, you be careful who you surround yourself with, you know.
Oh, that's what the first uncle said.
Okay.
That's what the first Uncle Mackham. That's what Uncle Mackham said. He said, like you said, you know, be careful who you.
He's a smart guy.
Yes.
You know, I have a saying for you. It's called "Hang out with two losers and you become the third."
Yes.
Okay.
Or like you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around.
Exactly. You know, and you know, I like the challenge of doing things outside of the box. I like when people say, you can't do that, Mikey. It makes me go, oh, okay. But I don't agree. And, again, it's still, the effort to go and try to prove it. And whether it works or not, I feel like at least I played it out. And if it doesn't work, I'll be the first to smack my own self down going, okay, you got to go another way.
Mm-hmm.
But I at least want to play it out. I don't want to abandon a vision or a dream because somebody said no.
Right.
It ain't going to happen like that. I'll find out if it's no, and I'll find out maybe the hard way, but I'll also find maybe a different avenue to get that yes, or to make that, bring to life.
Right.
So to me, there's no rules in life, and I love that. That's what keeps me alive. That's what keeps me just burning every day, because it's like, what else can I do?
Right.
What do I need to do? Now I'm smart about building a team, and I don't have to do it all by myself. Whew, that wore me out. But it's awesome. And you know the right people to surround yourself with, because if you set the template, people that are like falling off, they can't even keep up with you. Mm-hmm. And it's great. So you don't even have to blow them off. They will blow themselves off.
Yes, I heard a saying that said, if you want to go, I think, fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
That's a good one.
Yes, I was like, oh, that's it. And it was interesting because when you see these people who, I guess, have achieved certain status, people only see that one person. Mm-hmm. But now these days, I'm looking at, say, if it's someone, I guess, like Rihanna, who's, like worth $1 billion or whatever. I'm like, okay, who is in their circle? Who do they surround themselves with to get to that certain point or that certain status in life? Because, you don't just, it's not something you just arrive to by yourself. You have had a team of people around you for years, sort of like guiding you. And I think there was this quote by Denzel Washington where he's like, I've been like corrected, directed, and protected, So it's like, again, it speaks to who is around you.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Yeah, I know a lot of people that are great musicians and stuff, but they hate touring. That's a problem. So the whole love of it, you don't really know until you get there. But yeah, you're sleeping on a bus, you're waking up in a new town every day. You might even like fall in love with somebody for 3 days, but you got to go. It's a tough life. I love the road. That's why
fall in love part.
I love that element of it. I like meeting new people. I like going to places. There's an old show that you probably don't know, might be on reruns, but called Kung Fu, which I know your mom knows. And that's David Carradine, who used to go to all these little towns. And he used to beat up the bad guys. And he used to straighten out everything. And then he moved on to the next journey. You guys know what I'm talking about. So I feel that way in life a little bit. Of course, I make friends, and I have friends all over the world. But I love that aspect of it because I automatically try to help. Mm-hmm. I'm just that way. I don't know. I see the holes. But instead of going, well, you got a problem, I always have a solution to their problem. Mm-hmm. So I don't just bitch about, oh, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, you could do that better, and here's how. So there's a lot of people that have a lot to say, but they ain't got no solutions.
Right.
So I like to at least do my research and do my things and try to come up with some options.
Cool. Now, one of your southern friends has been telling me about this movie you're putting together. So can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Ooh, okay. So Wings is it's really a love story adventure. Mm-hmm. And I was inspired by my partner Randy, who's here in South Carolina, who is very aviational minded. He's a pilot actually. And we are working on a TV series about kids who learn how to be pilots. Mm-hmm. And from that series, I've kind of like had this imagination of, what if there was this adventure movie? So again, I only write stuff that I want to watch.
Right.
So I'm selfish. Sorry. And so back to that, I'm a viewer. Mm-hmm. So I kind of put this little adventure in my mind of these two kids that kind of find this old pilot's journal in their grandfather's attic. Okay. And in the journal, they discover that there's a treasure that the grandpa got through a robbery back in the 70s.
Oh.
So it's this kind of flashback. It all takes place in a flashback where they try to, decode what he might have meant back then.
Oh, and they got to decode. Okay.
Little bit.
Okay, plot thickens.
So
I'm here for it.
Without giving it away too much, they kind of, had this dream as kids, and then obviously, like anything else, they grew out of it. Mm-hmm. They're adults now. Right. And in fact, they've lost contact. And it was kind of by chance that they re-meet which kind of ignites the whole passion and fury
Right.
for this treasure that's still out there. And it kind of takes place as they're adults now, and it's taking place right here in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Spartanburg, South Carolina.
So it's something that, again, that I would watch. I think it's cool. You know, I think it's delivered and designed for like a whole family. I think the whole family could watch this together instead of, you know, the son being in one room watching MMA and grandma's out here watching, you know, the Golden Girls. This is something that I think everybody could like. There's a piece in it for everybody.
The Golden Girls. That sounds like, oh, not the Golden Girls, but
Sorry, Golden Girls.
No, I
No
love
offense.
that. I love that. So it's good, family-friendly entertainment.
Yeah, and it's got a little edge to it, and it's got a little mystery to it, and it's certainly got the old age of love. You know, it's got redemption in it, and there is a second chance tone to it, because one of the characters is definitely trying to change his life and become a pilot.
On brand. On brand. We love on brand.
You know what I'm saying? And so we are basically providing some opportunity for product placement to kind of build in the show.
You heard that? You heard that, Spartanburg.
That's
Product
right.
placement. Now,
I mean, I drink Pepsi. It's good.
or Coke, either one. So I
Dr.
guess,
Pepper, we love you.
right, Dr. Pepper, Pepsi. So I guess what type of product placement we were talking about here? Is this like I guess like car or computer, or does it?
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's a practical movie, so it's not built around special effects, witchcraft, and superheroes.
No visual effects?
No.
I'm a visual effects artist.
Nah.
No!
You're out of work.
No, not out of
You're out of
work.
work.
No, don't say that.
But you'll be in the credits.
Okay. I mean, I can remove
You
a
know
wire
what, there-
too. I can remove a wire.
There might be a couple
I can
things.
well, you know, look, whatever. Screen replacements.
Okay.
Wire removal. What else? I can make somebody taller.
There is a scene where we're throwing somebody off a building.
I can do that.
I think you could do
I
that.
can do that.
I mean-
You know, I mean, I can't get thrown off the building, but I can, you know, I can do a little green screen magic or whatever have you.
There we go.
I mean, I'm just saying.
But there will be a little bit of green screen, like with some of the plane maneuvers and stuff that we're doing. So, you know, but for the most part, it is practical. So it's really story based. So it's important that the characters that are in this movie are actually owning the characters and
Right.
delivering it, because we don't have all the fluff to say, hey, look at this explosion. Hey, bad
Look
guy.
at this alien. Look at the,
Yeah.
you know.
So it's a ballsy movie to make, but like I said, I'm really relying on the story to help guide people through it, and hopefully they enjoy the adventure like I do. You know, again, I'm just a viewer at the end of the day, and I want to see this movie, so that's kind of what's firing me up to really do this.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess, so what's next? Like after once Wings has taken off into the sky and, you know, you're at the Oscars and stuff like that. So like what's next?
Well, we are actually building the studio, a movie studio here in South Carolina. So, I mean, that's going to, you know, obviously take some time, but it's something to where we will be able to attract outside creators and local creators that need a place to work. I want to encourage like new movie makers and creators to be able to branch out, spread their wings. And you don't need...
Get it? Wings?
Yeah.
Spread your wings?
See? I'm always plugging. But yeah, give opportunity. Building a workforce here is one of our big incentives, because again, you could go to New Orleans, you could go to Georgia and everything like that to make your movie, and because they have the infrastructure already set up. But what I want to do, and with people like Gail from Urban League that we're working with, we want to train our local people to build that workforce. So when producers and people come here, they hire our community. They hire these kids and give them something that they could work for. So really it is an education.
Right.
So we're really leaning on that with every project we do. We also have a new project coming out called Beyond the Bars. And this thing's going to knock it out of the park, because what we're doing is we're taking ex-offenders and parolees and giving them jobs in the industry.
Ooh, second chance. On brand again.
Second chance. And letting them have hands-on experience on actual real projects. In fact, on Wings, we will probably have a couple, you know, people that are be kind of training for some situations. So what my thing is to excite them, is to let them work on real stuff. Stuff that you're actually going to see on
Get like
TV.
the real world experience.
Yeah. It's really exciting, and I think that's where we're going to get that excitement. The talent's here already. It's already here. They just don't know what to do.
Right.
So that's kind of like every project is going to kind of like create that platform for them. And, you know, again, I hope to influence people that think that their life is over and there's no way they're going to get that heads up that, yes, you could do it. And these people are proving it. So it's called Beyond the Bars, coming out soon. And we have a lot of support from the city, the state, of course, because we're only as strong as our weakest link. So you throw these people away again, it's going to come back at you somehow.
That is true.
So let's all get together and give a hand,
Right.
a hand up. Of course, it doesn't work with everybody, like I said, but I think we at least got to give them the opportunity.
Right. So now, we can't say, you know, building a movie studio and all this stuff without saying Mr. Randy. Now, tell me how you met Mr. Randy. I want to know how you two kind of linked up. Because it seems like you two are just out here, both of y'all just in the car together, just out here, just wheeling and dealing. I want to know how you two met each other.
Randy Alexander, actually, I met him when I was scrolling through TikTok one day. And he was on a podcast, and I believe he was talking about his recovery from cancer, how he beat it, and some of the things he wants to advocate to help other people. And I really liked him, and I was like, man, this old dude, he's got some wisdom. And I was just thinking to myself, more people of his age and his knowledge need to be out there working it. And so I actually got in touch with him. And he was talking about trying to start his own podcast and, you know, to help people.
Now, Mr. Randy.
Yes.
When are you gonna be on the podcast?
When you invite me, I'll be happy to be honored.
Yeah, he should be a follow-up guest.
He should.
He could talk and ramble forever. Trust me.
Tell him what
He's a babbler.
I'm an editor's nightmare.
Yeah. Because, you know, I had approached him and I said, look, I think I know what you're trying to do. You need my help. He's like, I do? I'm like, yeah. I said, this is what I do. Let's get together. I said, but instead of a podcast, let's do an interview type of show where you actually go to seeing people, where you could touch them and hug them and smell their breath. And he's like, I love it, you know? And that's what we did. But one of the funny things about it is when he's interviewing, unlike you, who is like a proper interviewer, he would ask a question and keep talking. Like the guys are trying to answer the question. He's like, babble, 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 babble. And I'm in the editing trying to like get my sound bites and everything. And I'm like, getting frustrated. It's all good-hearted and I love him to death. And I'd be talking to him on the phone. I said, you know what you are, Randy? And he's all ready for me to compliment. I'm like, you're an editor's nightmare. And he's like, what does that mean? I'm like, you need to put a period on the end of your sentence. He's like, a period? I'm like, yes. You talk over your interview, your own interview. So we're learning, and it's all good natured.
So we're learning.
Yeah, he's getting there. He knows what a comma is at least now.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Right. And so that's kind of how it started. He invited me up here to Spartanburg to do some interviews. He wanted to interview some local businesses and stuff. And that's kind of what the whole thing started for me because I've been trying to plant a flag to build a studio in a few different places. I've been to Ghana, Africa.
Really?
Who offered us 40 acres to do what we had to do.
Wow.
They had some infrastructural issues that is important. Just a lot of different details, but they brought up a team of us to consult them on doing it. Because they didn't like the way Americans portray Africans. And I was like, really? You know what? I get that. So they have all the talent there. They have the actors, and they're sick of the way that we portray Africans because they're like, you're so off. Mm-hmm. So they want to promote their own actors, but more importantly, they want to train their community, which I'm all about. So it's a growing process, and then COVID hit. So, obviously, everything got put on pause. So long story short, when I came up here, he said, yeah, the film commission's up here working hard. We have a lot of producers and stuff that are interested in kind of doing stuff up here. And I'm like, yeah, I could see that. And there happened to be the spot with Aiden Bondin, who is rehabbing a whole big, I think, an old mill factory on the north side that they're turning them into spaces. So we are having them design and build a full-blown movie studio with a sound stage, and all the trimmings. I mean, it's going to take some time.
Right.
So it started that way, and really even the Beyond the Bars, that comes out of me while I'm there. So while I was here, I was just looking around going, anybody helping out the little guys? Oh, just checking. What are you doing? So I rallied everybody together, put together the concept, and everybody's just on board. So it takes somebody to throw it out there. Even if it sounds ridiculous, you gotta go for it. So that's kind of how it started. And, obviously the Flying High program with the students, Tomorrow's Pilots, I call it, sparked the Wings movie. And who knows, I hang around in town, I'm gonna make a show about you.
I would love that. I would absolutely freaking love that. I'm just going to be flat out honest with you.
Be careful.
Make a show about me, Uncle Mikey. Make a show about me.
That's what I did. That's what I do.
All right, so tell me, what would you say are your top 3 tips for young people looking to, they're just starting out, but they're trying to get to where you are in life. They're trying to have such an awesome career, but still have, a really good head on their shoulders. What would you say your advice is for them?
I mean, I would say find something that you love. First of all, I mean, obviously it takes love because it's not going to be easy sometimes. So you got to be able to work past that, and the love will help you work past that. And just know that there are really no limits. It's really what you could desire in your heart. So don't be so quick to get everybody to agree with you. That's my take on it, because there's a lot of people that will steer you wrong because maybe they're jealous, or they don't want you to succeed, because if you succeed and they don't, they feel like you're a loser. So a lot of people will be close to you and also kind of steer you wrong, because it's like, man, if Jay makes it, that means that I'm a loser because I could have made it too.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be that way. I think be genuine with it, work hard, set the template. And you will find yourself surrounded by people that will help you and encourage you. And you'll know the people that are in it for the right reasons. So when you're young, dream it. There's no limits. So whatever you think could happen. But make it happen with yourself first. So
it's like my dad was saying, take risks.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, oh, you need to take risks more. And I was like, really? So
yeah, you gotta step out there, and you'll find that you'll get that support, and people will surround you and try to help you with your vision. It's amazing. I had a lot of times where I'd go at it by myself. I only had myself, and to have people to actually get me and go, wow, I want to be a part of that, Mikey D. I'm like, whoa, what did you say? So it only makes it better, because I'm getting there anyway. Don't make me do it by myself. I don't want to be by myself. So that's why I always keep that hand open, that offering to it. And again, when you're young, you could be stubborn and stuff, and I think that's okay to a certain point, but I'll always be open-minded. There was a lot of times I wish I was, but I only learned from my mistakes. So, to me, even if somebody says something so way out of bounds, like, Mikey, you should do this, and it's something that I totally hate, I don't come down on them like, that was stupid, bro. I go, wow, I would have never thought of that. Because it's so stupid, I would have never thought. But you don't have to be mean to people.
Right.
So another thing for all you kids out there, it's better to be kind than right. And I'll leave you with that. Let that soak in, Jay.
All right. Well, if you need me, I'm just going to be just letting all of this wisdom sink in.
Yeah.
But no, that's
Yeah. It's tough. And I learned the hard way too. I used to be right all the time, but I could have been better about it. You don't have to lower anybody to do it or make them feel bad. Because I've had that done to me. It sucks.
Wow. Well, you heard it here first. I've had a great time, but I believe we are
out of hard drive space.
Almost. Good Lord.
I love it. Well, we'll definitely do it again.
Definitely. And of course, thank you for being on the show.
You got it, man.
A lot of wisdom.
Awesome.
I hope you guys wrote some of these notes down. I know I will. And yeah, that's a wrap.
Awesome. Keep it going. Great job. Thank you.